Yo, what's up, demons and demonettes? Tis I, Atroxy Demon Co. And watch out, Iceberg, straight ahead. But before we get into it, as always, toss a like and subscribe down below. That's right. Today we are talking about AFKJourney, and if we are on the Titanic of gacha games, because that iceberg is, woo, it's coming around the corner, and people are jumping ship. They're getting in those lifeboats, or they're just jumping in the waters. Anyway, let's take a look at some of the stuff that's not looking too great. So one of the metrics that you could do to check out your personal server health is you can, not records, I always get them mixed up. You can go into the rankings. I would not pick the same day because you have people that run right before a reset. But generally what you want to do is you want to go down here and you want to see how many people are running, and this caps out at 200. Mind you, we currently have less than 100 people active on our server, and if you really want to like go by, we'll say a second criteria, you could look at how many people are actually participating in the current difficulty, which is only 40. Now, typically in your 200, you would want to see a bunch of these in here, and maybe some of these in here, and then you wouldn't see anybody that's like in the like phase 2 phases back, I want to say. You wouldn't see in the top 200. Heck, if we were talking about the good old days of the game, we probably wouldn't see anybody, I would say, out of like this area in the top 200, right? There we'd probably be seeing, you know, these comments cut off, but that's just the current state of things. Now, my server is allied already, which is even a word sign. So yeah, that's not looking too good. You can also go ahead, you could take a look at guild supremacy, just to kind of see where everybody in your district is kind of like hanging out there. Like, did our guild have drop off, that type of thing. You can kind of like spot check and see who's in your server group. If you're an allied server, you can look to see where the other guilds are doing in your allied server versus other guilds. And as you can see, like, our server's not doing too great. Like, we're 2, and we're the strongest guild on the server still. And yeah, they're 322. One of the other things you could do is you could spot check the other guilds right in your on your server or whatever, and you could kind of like see how many guild members do they have. It doesn't tell you active accounts, but you can see they've got a couple that are probably done playing the game. Yeah, but they've got a lot of, I guess, casual type players, you could say, so they're actually probably doing pretty good. They're just not very competitive, we'll put it that way. Yeah, I mean, we could see where some of the other ones, we have this guild here, Umbrella, so, you know, yeah. But that makes me interested, where it's, like, I know they're having issues, but where's, oh, so they're 9, so they're not too bad off, but, yeah, I mean, every one of the top guilds I feel like is having issues, because, yeah, look at how many AFKs they have. They have 30 in here, but they have at least 4 that have probably quit playing, right? So they're realistically in that like same boat. So we have a hard time trying to recruit, because we kind of have the top 3 guilds in the allied servers, we'll say, all kind of in the same boat, where we have 26 to 27 like active players in the guild, and it's kind of like everybody's kind of like set where they are, so it's hard to kind of like recruit, and there's nobody coming in, and we just have people going out. So eventually what's going to happen is one of those guilds is going to, shall we say, collapse or fall apart, and we're gonna get absorbed, or we'll absorb one of the other players. The other 2 will absorb the third. We'll see how long that can sustain, but it really hurts the competitiveness of our guild. in guild modes like Battle Drill, Guild Supremacy. Like, we had a good start, but in the long run, we're going to be hurting. Clash Fronts, really not looking forward to Clash Fronts. We lost a lot of our big accounts, or bigger accounts, shall I say. So we're really hurting there. And when you lose like a 70 million, like you lose whales, they're just gone. They don't come back, and you can't just easily replace them. Like, we lost a 70 million base power account. They're gone. They're not coming back. I just lost a very good competitor in a 64 million, and they're not coming back. A lot of people just aren't enjoying the season. We've lost like 10 players since the season started. I only replaced a few of them, and yeah, it's just been a hard time just recruiting. So that's bad. But why is this ship sinking? What's the cause? I think the biggest issue right now is like the tone deafness of the devs. They're like gaslighting the problems, and maybe they don't understand, like, hey, this is the problem. So they're like, hey, we understand that this is the problem, and this is the fix. Like, for instance, content, right? One of the biggest things we've mentioned is the lack of content, or shall I say irrelevant content in the game. Now, one of the things that nobody really complained about was the map size. It was that the story was too short and heavily time gated. What was their solutions is say, hey, we heard you, the map is too large. Nobody said the map is too large. We made the map smaller and the story shorter. But we said that the problem is lack of content, so their solution was to make the map smaller, give us less story, and time gate it more. They just spread the time gates out, so there was like no like 3-day time gates this time. There was just a 2-day time gate every other day, right? So we got new content every other day, and the story was fairly short. Some of the chapters, I also will say, or zones, took a half an hour, or like the final one took 2 hours, which is fine by me, right? But yeah, if you go through the story, if you skip, obviously it's gonna be quicker. But yeah, so that's the problem. Now we do get we still have the same daily stuff. That's fun, despite the bugs. Like, we had the rainer bug, and luckily we got that fixed. But the issue was we got no real, I want to say, a compensation for it, right? We lost a lot of stuff. Like, a lot of players have been losing out on rewards because they've been dropping in ranks because of the rainer bug. So while it's bad for the pay-to-win players, it's also bad for your late spend or free-to-play players that may have invested in a rainer to put those resources into him to get him to Supreme Plus, to get an advantage over those players that did not. Maybe they skimped out on something in the past, on something like a Cryonaic, or even like an Athalia, who's amazing for PvP, a Dunlinger, right? You're only building those big heroes for PvE if you're going to be on the light spend or free-to-play side. And so that's the issue. It feels even worse because you put those limited resources into a hero, you want to see those results, and you do it just to get an advantage over those in your bracket, maybe to jump up in the next bracket and get a slightly more rewards, which is always helpful. But then now all of a sudden this bug comes in, and the compensation was just doo-doo, right? So that wasn't very good. So yeah, but I mean, so you have the normal stuff, but the problem is when we do get events, these events drag on, and they just make them very grindy, rather than giving us multitude events and coming up with a cycle with different events. Like, they said, oh hey, we have Sunlit Showdown, great event, I love the event. Biggest issue is it just drags on, right? They don't give us enough content. The content, like I said, that they do give us is either heavily time gated, like a lot of stuff has been time gated, like the fairy tale content was time gated, the story at the beginning of the season was heavily time gated, or it just drags on for an eternity. Like a Sunlit Showdown, you got to the hardest difficulty day 1, and then you're stuck farming there. I've just been kind of not doing it and just ignoring it for a week now, or maybe even longer than a week. I maxed out the score, you know, which it has a max. I found out, and yeah, I just haven't gone back to it because yeah, it is grindy because they made it grindy. And they made it grindy because of a lack of content, right? They need to make it grindy and heavy grindy because they don't have other content to give us, right? Because they're skimping on the content. Yeah. So that's a dev problem. That's not a player problem. The devs need to address and fix that. they need to be the ones driving and creating the content in the game. We can give them suggestions, sure, and they could implement it. I give them a lot of low-hanging fruit and stuff that could probably been implemented a little bit quicker, but we still haven't seen it, right? All right, so Rumble is Rumble. It's every other day. It's the same event, right? It's kind of tired. We get this horde mode over and over and over, and it's like, yeah, it's not a bad event, but like we need something like different. Maybe mix it up. Maybe make it a 4-day, 5-day. Maybe add in some kind of challenge using certain factions or certain heroes. I don't know. Just spice it up a little bit. Titan Reaver as you just do once a week and you're done. Again, now it's longer. I didn't realize it ended in 9 days. So yeah, it's just, again, it just goes on too long, right? You do it once, you're done, and then it just kind of sits there. That's not content. That's something you do once, it's done. And yeah, so unless it like refreshes, I don't know when it's gonna refresh. We were supposed to get 3 of these, so we'll see how it goes. As for stages as content, right, that's been always the big driver. One of the things they mentioned is like, hey, we heard you. The problem is, yeah, you know what? We realize, you know, hey, the records, they're not that great. They show these auto records and no manual, and we're gonna prioritize the auto records in the front. I don't think anybody complained about that. That's not the problem with stages. The problem with stages is there's too much manual. The problem is it's supposed to be like an auto battler. It's supposed to be AFKJourney, except the stages are very, very hands-on, and there's a lot of RNG. So even if you do have the time to put in the stages, like, you have to worry about one, almost being too strong and not transitioning. That's another problem. Two, like, you could see, like, I'm like 80k over this record here. I mean, for Christ's sake, they're using a legendary Brian, not even like legendary plus Brian here, right? And they're able to clear it, whereas like, and I'm like P4 plus 20 plus 25, yeah, plus 20 on almost all these heroes, right? And I'm struggling on this stage, so that power's just not translating into ease of completion, right? So power doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, it should be a cakewalk. Power should help to mitigate the RNG you have to deal with in the game, right? So more power means more HP, more survivability, right? It means you should be better at doing what you need to do. More damage, more survivability, allowing you to a little bit more easily pass some of the content. But no, we're heavily reliant on RNG, pretty much just timing everything right and then having to get the RNG right as well. So it's very, very frustrating, very time consuming. So if you don't have a lot of time to push stages, even if you invest a lot in your account, you're not going to be able to progress those stages. Even with this new buff, the War Chief buff that I call it, that they didn't even say anything about. But yeah, all of a sudden this just popped up. This wasn't in any notes. There's no numbers. It just says we're supposed to get a buff every day. So we get an increasing buff every day to our base stats. No idea what it is. No idea if it actually works, but yeah, it's just, plus then you add in that these stages aren't very rewarding, right? So you get the first clears. Now back in Song, when we had them on the G servers, we'll say, these were rewarding. There were some nice rewards. There was invites. There was a decent amount of diamonds. Maybe you could put some temporal essence. No, it's just the same thing over and over. 50 diamonds, XP, some stuff to craft for things that's going to be outdated in like 2 weeks anyway, and some other stuff to refine your gems or your charms or whatever. That's going to be useless in a couple weeks anyway. So I can also add in, because I cleared a ton of them, that the personal rewards you get, like, look, the satchel, that's kind of nice, right? You get a personal reward, and you get to give out to your guild. Fine. The 5 reds is not really worth it. I mean, you got to put a lot of time and effort into the stages, and you just get 5 reds. So I have to clear 250 stages to go from plus 15 to plus 16, and I have to be the first to do that. So I can get plus 1 EX weapon for clearing 250 stages. And that's a lot of work to clear those stages, right? Especially since we have to manual so much, or have to rerun for RNG. Speaking of RNG, it's just awful. You go to a Dream Realm. I'm consistently losing in Dream Realm. Now, here, I'm fine with it. If I lose because I fucked up and I didn't build my Heroic Charms, which I did on Necro Dragon. I just built Odie's Charms for whatever reason. And then, you know what? Heroic comp drops. I'm out of dust. I have bad luck on Heroic Charms. I have no Heroic Charms. I'm in 37th. You know, I'm fine with that because I know what I did wrong, and I know what I need to do to correct that to get a better score. What's not cool is when you have... Now, I know this person probably has their comp all maxed out, right? Because they've got Crown. They invested smartly rather than build... they built vertically, not horizontal, right? So where I built out my account, I have a lot invested in every hero. Maybe I don't have as many like those heroes as Crown. I have different heroes as Crown. They have a little bit of an advantage, but when you lose to an account that's like 10 million or 12 million, or in cases where, you know, I don't have any here, but in cases where I lose to accounts, like if I didn't rerun for the updated account, I was down like here. So, you know, I'm losing to accounts like almost 20 million, 12, 10, you know, 13 million base power less than my account. That's just a bad optic, right? It's like I have this much more in my account. I know what it takes to go spend wise to, like, it's like the difference between VIP 20 and 22, or 21 to 22 from 70 to 80, and it's a big investment, right? You just don't see that investment gaining on your returns, right? And then if I look at PvP, it's kind of the same way. It's not very rewarding, at least from a spender standpoint. I mean, yeah, most of the free-to-play players are gonna go, haha, well, whatever. But like, what I'm gonna point out that's bad is, like, you have the premium heroes built, right? These are the Celestial Hypogeans. These are supposed to be the chase heroes. You load up your team with these heroes with a decent comp. You should not lose to teams that are using like the base heroes. Like, that doesn't... They justified bumping up the Supreme Plus, giving them the rivalry stats, and kind of deflating the value of Paragon 4 for the premium units, but they suck at PvP, right? As Browning demonstrated when he beat my team with a free-to-play comp. Now, we did some additional testing with some other comps, right, in the pay-to-win aspect here. Kind of paid off on at least one or two of the comps, right? It didn't pay off on this comp. I thought that comp was kind of doo-doo. And in this comp, I don't know why it won, but, you know, hey, what it is what it is. But yeah, so it's like, you just don't see the investment on return. And from a whale perspective, that's bad, right? So your big spenders are leaving, your free-to-play players that they lord over are leaving too, right? So it's like, you're the king of the mountain, but that mountain's shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, right? So if we look at the game as a product and the life cycle, we have the early adopter phase. We'll say that was PTR. We had the growth phase. We'll say that was through Song, when they released the CS servers, right? The global servers, we'll say, when it went with a full global launch, right? And then it kind of like tapered off, and now we're either somewhere in that like chill phase, right, where we're chilling, but there's rapid decline. I would say we're more in like the death phase of the game. From a marketing perspective, it's just that death phase can be extended for a very, very, very long time. Look at Arena, look at a lot of gacha games that go on for years and years and years. And it just depends what kind of like player base you can sustain it on and what your business model can sustain. Now, what does this mean for me for the future? Well, I don't see any reason to invest in the game any further. Like, my account getting more power isn't going to benefit me, right? Because there's no translation between my base power and my ability to compete, right? It's not going to change anything in Arena because you could use 5 heroes. So Brownie can build just 5 heroes that are 5 specific heroes And if it's a good enough comp and it can counter my comp, he doesn't really need to say build up the rest of his roster to win an arena. The same thing kind of goes for a Supreme Arena, and since the devs refuse to power creep heroes, it was fine when, you know, we had the different products, right? You can do better than, less than, different than, same as, right? We don't want same as would be 100 a skip. You know, we don't need a hero that does this. They need to be different than. I think we filled in a lot of those, if not all of those, different than roles, unless they come up with something crazy like a Kululu, right? That does something different, where she makes a wall. It's completely different. We've never had, right, a hero that does that. It's not that great for a PvP. It's okay for a PvP. That's primarily for, it's iffy for a PvE. It's kind of niche. A little expensive and more than I would like from a Celestial Hypogean unit. So, yeah, that's... yeah, so, and it looks like Valara's, like, Indris wasn't good. Valara's probably not going to be good. Theodor's not going to be good. I doubt any of the heroes we're going to get, other than maybe Damon, are going to be good. I would even say Damon's only okay. At best, he's kind of a side grade, right? He's kind of like, if you want to say, like I said, same as Kaelin, right? The only difference is that Damon's going to help out when we need that Greedborn comp, like you saw it on the Plague Lord, or the Primal Lord. You'll see it on Ravage Realm, right? Because he fills that role of that buffer that we don't have for Greedborn. So he's different than in that sense, but that kind of makes him a niche, right? So you're only pulling him potentially for the Primal Lord, and then for a Ravage Realm. He may not even be good. He's not good for Dream Realm, and there's only a chance that he may be good for Endless Dream Realm. I still think he's gonna get overshadowed by Friesto, just based on the Primal Lord. Anyway, so that means, like I said, I'm going to be free to play. I'm going to skip Balin. I'm going to skip Valar. I'm going to skip Theodor. I'll just get the 1 copies that I get off the pre-order. I may pre-order the other ones as well, but I'm just not going to spend on the game right now, unless a hero is completely broken. As for content, I'll still make content. I'm going to try to point out things that are wrong with the game that we can maybe try and work on getting fixed. Like, we got Arena fixed. We didn't really get anything for it, but we got them fixed, so at least the rankings are kind of back to normal, I'll say. Hopefully we can get some of the BS fixed with stages. Maybe we can get some more content. Like, I'm not looking forward to anything that's coming up in 1.4.2 because it's Clash Front's Dying Guild. Doesn't entice me. It's Melody or whatever it is. It's just going to be another event that just drags on the whole quarter of the season or a third of the season or whatever it is, and not really add too much, right? So it's just it'll be fun the first couple days, and then it'll just drag on, and we won't get anything else, right? So there's just not enough meat on the bones in the core gameplay at this time. They're going to mess up stages. They're going to mess with towers. There's going to be less motivation to push those, so that's not going to be good as well. Again, they're changing things, but they're not fixing things, right? They're changing things that look like they're easy to change rather than fix the problem, right? They're not even putting on band-aid fixes. They're just gaslighting the fixes. I wish they would address the actual issues that the community has with the game, because I do love this game. I do have a little bit of sunk cost fallacy because I did sink a bunch into my account. I'm just going to cut my losses at this time. I'll still play the game. I just won't play it as intense. As for what I'm going to be doing for the future, primarily I'm going to be streaming and playing Etheria Restart. I was kind of just wanting to get a good grasp on the game before I made actual content and videos for it, because I'm not comfortable putting things out there that I can't assure you that hey, this is going to be good, this is going to be successful. I don't want to give you bad information. That's not the goal here. The goal is to help people and get them good information. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!